What's up guys, my name is Ace, and for those that don't know, I actually like the gameplay overall in Cold War. I know it's a really popular thing to be hating on Cold War, calling it a trash game, saying it looks like a mobile game, and it's a huge step back from Modern Warfare. But in my opinion at least, I think the gameplay flow is generally solid. I like most of the gameplay design decisions they made with this. And strictly speaking about gameplay, I definitely prefer this over Modern Warfare 2019. Having said this though, I really feel like the gameplay of Cold War has gotten stale, and it has been stale for quite some time. I just feel like they haven't mixed things up enough to keep things fresh and exciting, and really all they've done since launch is add more content and balance weapons. There hasn't been a real fundamental change to how you might want to approach the gameplay, or really just nothing new and exciting gameplay-wise that's drawing me back into the game and getting me excited about the game anymore. And based on what I've been seeing in my comment sections and on Twitter and on Reddit, I'm not alone when it comes to this. It really seems like the gameplay has gotten stale and boring for many people. So in today's video, I wanted to share several realistic things that I think could be done to this game to drastically improve its replayability and bring a lot of those people back that do enjoy the game but just have gotten bored with it. So keep in mind as I go through my list here, I'm trying to focus on things that I think could be reasonable things to ask for. I'm not asking for a complete change up to the gameplay or a complete overhaul, just some additions that I feel could help a lot with replayability. And the first area that I feel could use a lot of love, and this is an area that I think is the best to target when it comes to replayability, this is their streak system. Now, I'm not going to get too deep into this. Most of you guys already have heard this from me in the past. I don't like the current streak system that they're using in Cold War. Simply because, to me at least, they feel far more like power-ups than streaks that you have to earn. And there's no longer that high that I chase on a game-to-game basis of wondering if I can get that highest end streak. It's just something I can do pretty much every single game without even having to think about it. Now, I've already accepted that that's the streak system, and that's fine. I don't expect them to change it, overhaul it, scrap it completely. However, I do feel like they could make a few additions that would complement this streak system and offer an alternative for those of us that don't like using this streak system. And the first one, they've already kind of got the groundwork laid out for. This is Specialist. And Specialist isn't something that Treyarch is really known for. This is more of an Infinity Ward thing, and Sledgehammer has also messed with it a bit. But in Season 3, we had Die Hardpoint, which essentially had a Specialist-like system built into it. And therefore, I don't feel like it would be too unreasonable for them to add a Specialist system for all game modes, where we don't necessarily have to use score streaks if we don't want to. Instead, you could choose the Specialist option, which would allow you to earn perks instead of those streaks until you get to the Specialist bonus that would give you all the perks in the game, and then perhaps even a few other benefits like a faster reload, maybe a very slightly faster movement speed, or faster health regeneration. For me, that would add a ton of replayability. I love that feeling of working your way up to feeling like a super soldier, and I'm happy to give up my streaks in order to do that. I think this would also drastically reduce that streak spam that we often see in games because, like I said earlier, these aren't really streaks, they're more so power-ups that every consistent player should be earning every single game. Now, if they just added Specialist on its own though, that might not be enough because there's a key component that goes alongside Specialist, and this is a nuke streak. And I'm not talking about just the metal that pops up, I'm talking about a nuke that actually blows up in-game and everybody gets to see it. And this is something that Treyarch normally doesn't like to do. Like David Ronderhart has come out and said in the past that he just doesn't like the idea of the nuke streak. But they had it in that Die Hardpoint mode, and I think it would bring a lot of people back and definitely improve replayability for a lot of the more skilled players especially. I know I'd be pumping way more hours into this game if they had those options available. Now, alternatively, or maybe even alongside what I just mentioned with Specialist, it would be really cool if they could add the option to select traditional score streaks for those that want to use that. I think the majority of the casual player base would stick to these standard score streaks the way they are, but I would love to have that trade-off where I could select traditional score streaks instead, so it's the same streaks that you're earning, except you would have to earn it all in the same life, and if you die, your streak gets reset, and you have to start from scratch again, and then of course they would have to lower the score values for all the streaks, and then also eliminate the cooldown period. This is another one of those things that would definitely get me playing the game more often. I would always be choosing those traditional score streaks, even though they'd be more difficult to earn. I like that. I like that little bit of a challenge. I like the tension and the build-up, knowing that at any point I could be killed and set back to zero. That was always a huge part of the magic of Call of Duty for me, and that's the high I love chasing on a game-to-game basis. And thinking about this, it really brings me back to COD World War II, where about this time in its life cycle, they added the Blitzkrieg perk, which let us go from score streaks to kill streaks instead. This would be sort of a similar thing. Give us that option to choose traditional streaks if that's what we want. And even if they want to make it a perk, like a tier 2 perk, that would be fine with me, mainly because tier 2 perks aren't really all that powerful, so it wouldn't be such a big trade-off to choose that. So when it comes to improving the replayability of the game, I think that is the biggest area that they could focus on to bring a lot of players back, or just get a lot of the old school COD players playing more often. But next up, another thing that I think would definitely improve replayability for a lot of people that just feel like they've got nothing else to work toward. I'm mainly thinking about the people that have had Dark Matter done for months now. This would be the addition of Mastery camos. Just like we saw last year with Modern Warfare 2019, they added the Obsidian camos for those that really wanted to push that grind to the next level. I feel like it's really important to always have something for people to work towards, something that's usually highly sought after, like that Dark Matter camo. I feel like there should always be something available there, especially for the most dedicated players that, like I said, have probably earned Dark Matter already, maybe even months ago, and they're just getting the feeling now that they've got nothing else to do. Like, they've already sort of beat the game, so why keep playing it? But next up, something I've noticed with Cold War that I think is leading to that lack of replayability, or that feeling of a lack of replayability, compared to many of the more recent Call of Duty games we've had, is throughout the year, they haven't really added any new perks or field upgrades or equipment. It's all the same stuff we had at launch, and we've just gotten new guns over time. And as great as new guns are, they don't really change how you think about the gameplay or approach the gameplay in any way. And I feel like this is where perk additions or equipment or field upgrade additions could go a long way, as long as they're well thought out, of course. One example of something that I feel like would be a good addition would be the introduction of an EMP grenade of some sort. Now, this could come as a piece of tactical equipment, or if that's too annoying and they become way too prevalent, perhaps even as a field upgrade that has a relatively fast recharge rate. I think it would be great to have the ability to have an EMP grenade in order to counteract a lot of the other field upgrades that are all over the map, as well as maybe some of the ground-based streaks like a sentry gun. That's the type of thing that would definitely add a little bit of replayability, but that's just one example. I'm sure they could come up with something else as well when it comes to either field upgrades or equipment. But finally on this topic, there's one last thing I wanted to talk about that can definitely contribute to replayability, and it is something they have been doing, but I just wanted to encourage maybe some more variety in this. This is more unique limited time modes. Like I said, they've been really consistent at bringing in new limited time modes, but for many of them, I really feel like they're just a slight twist on a game mode that already exists in the game. So they either just like change up the player count, or in the case of like Die Hardpoint, for instance, which is a very unique mode in a lot of ways, it still plays like Hardpoint for the most part, you just have all of the bonuses and power-ups as you do it. To me, I'd like to see some limited time modes that really just play completely different from the current modes. They're not just a mode with a twist, but they're actually their own unique game mode, like Demolition. Demolition is a mode we haven't seen yet in this game. I think it would play great. I think it would be quite popular, at least as a limited time mode, and I'd love to see that come at some point. Similarly, a game mode that I'm really missing out of a Treyarch game that I've really enjoyed over the past couple Treyarch games, this is Safeguard. Safeguard plays completely different from any other mode in the game because you have to escort something from point A to point B and it follows a predictable path. Everybody is concentrated on that one objective, and there's simply no other mode like this in the game. That would offer a very new and unique experience for Cold War. And of course, like, they wouldn't have to have a bipedal robot like we have in the more futuristic Call of Duty games, but you could really just be escorting anything. It doesn't matter what it is. I would love to see that style of a mode where you have to escort something from one side of the map to the other, and the other team has to try and stop you and defend it. So yeah, overall, I just feel like there's a few more opportunities out there when it comes to limited time modes, and instead of seeing a game mode that we've already got, but just with a slight twist to it, it would be nice to see some more truly unique 6v6 game modes added for limited time events. But with that, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for today's video. Those are the primary ideas I have that, at least for me, they would definitely improve my playtime on this game. Of course, I'd like to know in the comment section below. First up, what do you guys think about the ideas that I presented here? And second, what other reasonable ideas do you have that would bring you back or get you playing more often? And the key word there is reasonable. I know for many of you that don't like Cold War, you'll have some edgy comment referring to a complete overhaul to the game or something like that. I'm mainly asking for serious suggestions that are actually realistic to expect. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.